Hello, welcome to another cloud computing class. Today we will use Docker to containerize our node.js applications. Let's see how we can move code from our laptop to the VM and actually run it. So I am in my Google Cloud platform. You can see here I have my Docker VM from the previous tutorial. I will click here on the SSH to open the terminal connection. It might take a minute. While I'm doing this, I would recommend you to download and install GitHub at this moment at your own laptop or desktop. So if you go back to class number 3, in lab 3.2, you will see here the installation guide for Windows, Mac and Linux users. So just click on it and you will get redirected to the guide for installing Git. For Windows users, you will have to use this Git for Windows installer, and for Mac users, you have another installer here. If you are a Linux user, you can go and install it using the command line. Right, so just to recap here, we need for this tutorial to install GitHub, and the instructions on how to install GitHub is on class number 3 in lab 3.2. Just find the link, install it, and come back to this tutorial. Now, I assume that you already installed GitHub and you already have your Docker VM from the previous tutorial. This means that we are ready to connect here, and we can start playing around with Node.js. So I have my connection here. I will not do anything for the moment. What I will do is I will go to my Visual Studio Code in my laptop. So what I will start here with a small fresh Node.js project. Very simple things, something like printing and responding back to the browser. I will containerize my application by adding my code to GitHub, and then from GitHub I will move everything to a container and run it directly. So I will create a Docker file for this to automate the whole process, so it should be straightforward to run it, let's say in 5 minutes. Okay, let's see how we can do this. First, I am here in my Visual Studio Code. I will open a new folder, and I will go to my desktop and I will create a new lab 5 test app. I will call it like that. I will create this folder here and open the folder. So what I will do, I will just create a small application with Node.js and Express, nothing more. I don't need Mongoose here, just simple things. Open a new terminal. And as you can see, here is my terminal. I will just reorganize a little bit of my space. I will say npm init to initialize my node package manager here. Just press enter again. Okay. And npm install express. I will install express and the nodemon tool as we do always. Right. So that would be the basic installation. I will not add more libraries at this moment. So let me go here in the package.json. I have to say here start as we do usually, and I will say here nodemon app.js. This will start my app.js. That's fine with my package.json, and I will create here a new file. I will call it app.js, and in this file I will create just a simple application. Constant express, require express, usual stuff. This is an express app, and I will say here express. Okay, and I will create my first root here. I will do it directly here. In my case, I'm not going to create middleware for this. So app.get and request response. I will send back a message that says you just created a container out of your app. All right, you ship your application in a container. Okay, and here I will say app.listen, and I will just listen at port 3000. I'm not going to put a message, it's just, let's say, for testing reasons. Now, that would be my simple app. I don't need anything else here. All right, so let me just try it. npm start, and okay, it looks that it works. Just to test it before we start doing things, so I will go back to my browser here, and if I go to port 3000, all right, it says you just create a container out of your app. Actually, we didn't do anything yet, but hopefully we will do this. All right, so I don't need this window. I will close it, and I can go back to my Visual Studio Code. I will just open a little bit my terminal here, and Control-C to break this, my running server. All right, so that's it. In this folder, what we have the app.js, the package, and all the node modules that we need. We have Express and we have Node mode. Now, these are already installed here, so the question is how we move everything to a virtual machine. Are we going to do it manually, copy-pasting the files? No, it is not going to happen like that. What we will do is to move everything from this computer, from this folder, to a GitHub repo. Now, this is normal stuff. We always do it like that for many reasons, for saving our code, for sharing our code, whatever we want to do, we share it with GitHub. So I will go back to my GitHub in my case, and just I will recommend you, I suppose you already have a GitHub account. So what you will do is you will have to go to your GitHub and create a new repository. All right, so I go here, I say new. So if you go to this icon on the left side, and then new, and you can say here, what is the repository name? I will say lab 5 test app. This is my repository. Since I have it here, what I will do is I will call it lab 5 app. All right, just call it like that, something that you want. It could be public or private. I think it's worth to make it private to see how we can actually connect in a private repository rather than a public. And that's it. So add a name and add private repo and create the repository. Okay, so that would be all for the moment. Just to clarify that this is my link to my repo, so I will need to use this for sure. So copy this link. Okay, you can do it from here and go back to your Visual Studio Code. Somewhere here in the code, I will just have it as a comment. Maybe I could create a new file here. I will call it commands md, and I will create here a file to just save some things, right? For example, we say repo address. All right, and let's have it here, and I will probably need to use it in a second. All right, so let me go back to my GitHub now. So I have my repository ready. The question is, how do I connect here? Now you can see here there is a set of commands that we will need to run, and I will show you how in a second, to push our code from our laptop to the GitHub repo. However, this repository is private. This means that to connect to a private repository, you need username and password. If you have two ways of authentication, you might need to receive a text in your phone, approve the connection. So all these things make things, I would say, a little bit slow and complex. So the best way to do it is to use a token. As we learned in the previous class, we can use a token in order to delegate our access to a system. So if you go here on your icon on the right side corner, you will go here on the settings, right? So go here on the settings, and if you go down here, scroll down, and you will find the developer settings link. All right, so here, this one, click here. You can see here we have different options. You might remember this auth protocol. In our case, we'll go directly to the personal access tokens. I have a lot of access tokens here I created before. Your task is just to generate a new token and have it for some time. You can go and delete it after if you like. So generate a new token. Add here your password in your case, and then add a name for this token. I will call it Cloud Lab token. All right, you can call it as you like. You can select the expiration of this. It's good practice not to have a token for like 90 days. It's too much. But for this reason, because we are doing something like prototyping, it should be fine. All right. I will leave it 30 days in my case, but make sure to remember that after 30 days it will expire. You have to go and create a new token. I will click here on the repo. I want to do the basic stuff in a repo, access my repos, push and pull code. So I don't want any workflows and stuff like that, admin stuff. So that's fine. All right. So just go down and click generate token. All right. Just before I click generate, again, I just add a name, 30 days. I click on the repo. I enable all these options here, and I go down, scroll down and say generate token. And that's my token. All right. That's my token. I'd never use this. I will use it in a second. So just copy this. All right, and let's go back to Visual Studio Code and keep a note of this. So this is my token. Okay, let's have the token here. Now, I have my repo address, I have my token. I should be ready to push my code into the GitHub. So what I will do, first of all, I will just increase the size of my terminal here, and I will clear my terminal. Now, the best practice here to do is to follow the tutorial that I have here. So let me organize a little bit my space, find tutorial, lab 5.2, that I have the set of commands that we need to run. As you can see here, I just create a simple application. My message is different. Here I say I just ship my app to a container. I have a different message here, but that's fine. And here we say how to install, right? You can click the links here, and that's fine. The same guide, you can find it here. Now, I have already Git here. I can just verify this by seeing the Git version. It's 230. In my case, you might have a different version. That should be fine. The first step, it will be to initialize the Git in my folder. I can see here some hints, okay, and warnings. We don't really care about these things. So that's fine. Now, I will do here this. I will have to add everything, all right? Git add everything, okay? Git add everything to my repo, okay? Before I do that, I need to connect somehow to my remote repository. So my X command is this one, git remote add origin, all right, space, and now I have to use this address in a combination with this token, all right? So what I have to do is this. I have to take this address, let me copy from here, put it here, all right, and follow this particular setup. It says you need to have HTTPS, your Git username, all right, so I will add it here. My Git username is TeliosOT. You can find your Git username if you go to GitHub, and you can see it here, all right, this is your username. So I go back to my Visual Studio Code. I open also my tutorial here, all right. Again, you need your HTTPS, your Git username, all right, colon, you need your Git token. I will take my token from here. Okay, just copy this, add it here, okay, and then it needs the @ symbol and your repo, all right. So I will go here, where was the end of my token, a little bit careful here, okay, at my GitHub repo, all right, and my GitHub repo is, I think, this one. Let me find it here. Where is my Safari? Okay, this is my GitHub repo. Well, I have to go back to find it. If I go a couple of screens back, I should be able to find this, all right. This is my GitHub repo, okay, this lab 5 app git. So I will just leave it as it is for the moment and hope that it will work. If it doesn't work, what I will do is I will just go and try it and see how I can fix it, all right. So just keep it as it is, right. So I will just copy this, all right, and add it here, okay, press enter, all right. I don't expect to see anything, that's fine. Again, what I did, I took this URL here, and I just added my username and my token before the github.com address to my GitHub repo. Okay, good stuff. Now, let me go back to my tutorial just to have it always here. So I did this step number 5 here, how to add the remote origin. Now let's clear my screen here, all right, and I will add everything. Git add everything. I forgot the git, and this will add all the files and folders of the current directory. And then I will say commit, and commit with a message that says push files folders, all right. And the git commit will actually commit everything we have here. And now it's time to push. So git push, and I will say in the origin master. Now this is the time that we'll test our connection to this particular URL, all right. So let's do it. Yes, it looks that it works. So I should have now everything in my my GitHub. So if I go back to my GitHub, I will refresh my page here in this repo, lab 5, and I can see everything here, right? If I click up.js, I will see here we just created our application message. That's fine. That's great news. So go back to my Visual Studio Code. If you see an error at this point, it's because you didn't compose well your HTTP URL for GitHub. Again, how to compose this? We need just to put here our username, colon the token, all right, at the address that is there. Just add it between here in this space. All right, make sure you have this carefully. You don't do any mistakes, and you copy perfectly your tokens. Okay, so that's it. That should be fine. Now that's it. I don't need anything else for my computer. I can save here if I want. I just leave it as it is and just minimize this window if you like. And let's go back to GitHub, and we can see here we have lab 5 app. This is a private app, and here if I click code, I will see here my link. All right. Probably what I will do, I will probably need one more time this link. So it's good practice to have it here. All right, because I push everything onto the cloud. Hopefully at some point I will pull it from the GitHub. All right, so let's minimize, and we'll see about this in a second. For the moment, what I will do is I will go back to my tutorial, and I will go on step number 6 that says you have to move now to your GCP VM because it's time to deploy. Okay, let's do this. My Docker VM is running. My Docker user here is already connected. Let me just leave here. I will do a fresh connection actually. All right, so let me open this window, organize my space, and this is tutorial lab 5.2. So I will do this. I will connect to Docker and create an image based on the data that I have on GitHub. First, I will download my data, obviously, right? I already have my Docker user here from the previous lab, all right? So su-docker user, and I will just change directory here to my Docker user, and I change as Docker. This Docker is running, okay, that's fine. Even if you turn off your VM and start your VM, Docker will start automatically, so you should be fine, okay? Now let me clear my screen here. So let me increase the size a little bit and just make it like that. I think it's much easier. All right. So what I will do, I will just run the ls command to see that this is an empty folder, or maybe you have the test.py from the previous lab, that's fine, but we don't really have anything important here, all right? So I will say here, git clone, the branch that is the master, all right? If you go back to your GitHub, you will see that the master branch is this one, all right? You are in the master branch, and this is your link here, okay? Go back to the code now. So GitHub, clone my my branch that is master, all right? And then, as you can see here, I need to give this URL, okay? We are going to download the data now. Now, I don't want to recreate this URL. I will go to my Visual Studio Code and just copy from here, take it, okay? Minimize this window and go here and add it here. So git clone the master branch of this repo, but this repo is private, so I give you my username and I give you my token. Press enter. All right, it looks that everything goes fine. That is surprisingly good. Make a less, and you can see the folder from the repo. So I was able to take my data from the repo. I can enter inside this folder, cd space lab 5, and I can again run an ls or ls-l. All right, ls-l if you want, and you can see the files. I can see the app.js. I can cut the app.js. I expect to see this. You just created a container, right? I can see everything here. Cool. I downloaded my data from GitHub. Clear the screen, and let's move to the next step. Now, being in this lab 5 app, what I will need to do is to create a Docker file that uses node.js, for example, and then copy everything into this file and then run the container directly. So when I run the container, it will run my environment. I will not have to do anything else, okay? It should be straightforward. All right, let's do it. I will do first my Docker file. So I will call it Docker file. Now you can have only one Docker file per folder. So let's enter here. And let's add some commands here. Right, I will use a a repo that is called Alpine. This is the version of the Ubuntu environment that we will use. Run apk add. This is a command to install node.js and npm. Alright, so I will download an Ubuntu image and I will add here node.js and npm. And I will update this with the latest versions. Then I will copy everything to a directory called source, or you can call it app, but since we have another app directory, it's a better idea to have it as source in this case. I will make this work directory, workdir, the source, okay, and then I will expose port 3000. This is because our server runs at port 3000. Somehow I need to expose this from the container. Alright, so when I have ports in the container and I have ports in the virtual machine, we need to make sure that these are actually bridged, these are matched, alright? And you can match different ports as we'll see in this example. Right, again, from Alpine, run apk add and update node.js npm. That's my two libraries. I don't need anything else here. I'm not going to install Express. The Express already installed and everything that I need is in GitHub, right? I push all my data and libraries. I don't need to install it again. Copy everything, this dot here, to the source folder. Make this the working directory, okay? And then expose 3000. Finally, your entry point, okay, or your command, as we say in the previous lab, it's node, lowercase, okay, comma, and I will explain you in a second about this, app.js, and then you close here the brackets. So this last line will go and run your app.js application. As you can see here, we don't need to use the nodemon. We use directly the node, because you can say also, instead of nodemon start, right, the application, you can say here node app.js, and this will start the application directly. So we don't need really the nodemon, even we didn't need to install it, right? So it's something we can avoid. Now let's save this, Control S and Control X. Sorry for that. Let me cancel here, Control S and Control X. And let's cut the Docker file just to make sure that we have everything we need here. We have from Alpine, run this command, okay, copy, make the work directory, expose the port, entry point. Make sure you have everything correctly, all right? There is always a space after the from, the run, the copy. Here also there is a dot and the space and then the source, okay? Just make sure you have the commands ready. Now we'll always reuse the same script here to do these things, okay? That should be fine. Let's try to build our image here. So Docker image build, and my mini test app, this is how I call it, okay? If you want, you can name it as you like, maybe lab 5, okay? If you have the same name, that's fine. Also, I would give it the version here. Now I will say this is my first, okay? This is my first version. If you like, and you can have another version of an image, so you make some changes, you can say, okay, I will call it number 2. So this is the idea of number 2, and the latest, it will always be the latest. So let's press enter, and obviously I have a typo here. Let me find and fix it. Yes, I forgot to just add the dot at the end. That means build the image with everything that you have in this folder. So let me do this. All right, it will start, and using my Docker file, you can see the steps. Step first, from Alpine download. Step 2, install node.js and npm. Step 3, copy everything, make the work directory, expose, right, and run the application. Everything it says okay. At the end says successfully tagged as well as mini test app image 1. That's great. Now let's run the container. That's our last step before we actually try it. So I will go here, step 13, and I will say Docker container run d, okay, name, I will call it Stelios web, all right, or you can call it Stelios or whatever you like, all right. And then I will say here, just following the commands here, I will say here, let me move a little bit this one here, and maybe what I will do is I will just clear my screen, so it should be much easier for you to follow. You don't have to see here. Just clear my screen and have a clear screen at the start. All right, let's do it one more time. Docker container run d name, it will be Stelios Web, okay, and then I will publish this. All right, so I have to publish my image at port 80 with mapping to the container at port 3000. All right, so the port of the container is 3000 because this is where we run our Node.js app. The port of the VM is 80, so I map these two ports. All right, or I can say here publish at port 3000, and then I have to go to the Google Cloud and open this port. I don't want to do it now for the moment. We'll do it in the next class. For the moment, just use the port 80. That is fine. And then I will give a name, mini test app image 1, the first version. All right, so create this container and run it. Let's go for it. Okay, the output is just a long string, probably representing the ID of the container. I could go here and say docker ps all, and I can see that this container is up and running. Now, what we created, we containerized our Node.js application that we move from our laptop to the cloud with a set of basic commands. Okay, what I will do, I will open my window here of Google Cloud Platform. I will see my IP here, right? You see this IP? All right, just copy your IP. Your IP should be different than mine. And let's open Postman. All right, and as you can see, these are the material that I have from the previous classes, the fields and the stuff. Now I will just add here my IP, and I will just press send. Wow, that's it. It works. You just create a container out of your application. All right, simple stuff. We just move our application from our computer to the GitHub, from the GitHub to the VM, and then we created a Docker container and we run the Docker container, and it looks that it works. And that's amazing, right? I think it's one of the coolest things you learned the last month. I'm sure about this. Now, that's a simple example, right, of using Node.js. So let me go back to my where I should go. I will go here and I will open my terminal one more time. Okay, I can see my container running, and the container will run until I stop the container. Okay, in my case I will just stop it. I will say here docker stop. What is the name of this? Stelios Web. All right, I can stop my container, and if I want also I can delete my container. Now my application will be offline, and I can use a more advanced example. In my case, I can download, for example, this mini film or whatever you like, this auth application that we did in the previous session, I think in lab number 4. So what I will do, I will say docker rm Stelios Web. All right, I will delete this. I don't want to have it anymore. Okay, so what I will do now, I will try to run the same example for a different repository that I have the mini film application with the authorization process that we created in the previous session. So if I go back to my GitHub, I have a link here. This is called lab5 auth minifilm. This is a private repo, my repo, and I will share with you my credentials for you to use it using my token actually. Right, so let me just try this and see how this goes. I will go here in my Google Cloud Platform. I will bring back my window here, and first of all I have to say that I'm in a fresh window of Docker. If you were still in this lab 5 app, you just have to go out. All right, just go out. I will clear my screen, and let's try a new repo here, but this repo has a lot of things. So I will say here Git Clone, and I will use Git Clone. I will use the branch that is the master, and I will use this URL that you have here. This is my URL to repo. All right, I will download this. Okay, that's great. I will enter in this lab 5 auth minifilm. I will see what I have here. Okay, what I need to do, I will need to create my pico docker file. I will copy this. All right, that's the same exactly script for the Docker file. Right, nothing will change. Control S, Control X. Okay, great. Let me build my Docker image build, and I will call it, in this case, I will call it lab5 contain image. right? Just something short. And finally, I will call it version 1 because this will be my version 1. Let's build this up. Again, I forgot my dot at the end, right? Usual stuff. And it will take a minute. Okay, the image is ready. Let's create our container now. Container, run in the background. The D means in the background. I will call it, well, we can call it lab5 container. Publish this, port 80, map it with 3000 as usual, and use this lab5 image. So just give me a second to just check here. We put this, okay. Lab5 image 1. All right, that's my image. So let's give it a go. It says lab container locally. Okay, unable to find the image. Yes, I forgot the name in this case. That's fine. You can see here run the lab container. I forgot the name. Now, if you do something like that, you can say docker ps all, and you can see that you created a container that is not correct. And that's a good example. I did some mistakes. Okay, what you will have to do, you can say docker rm this mini film container. You delete the container. Okay, you can clear your screen. You can go here and run the command again, but this time don't forget to use here the name. So I will just click here name lab container, and I publish, and my image is the one. Okay, now I did it correctly. Good. The moment of truth. Let's go back to our Postman. Let's open a new window here. Probably you will have as many as I have. That's totally normal. And all right, if you remember, I can go here and say, right, let me find my IP first. So I will go here in my Google Cloud, take my IP. All right, this is my IP. Go back to my Postman. And if you remember, it would be something like this, right? API film. I expect to get my films. It says access denied. All right, that looks okay. It works. Now, let's go and post a new user. Okay, API user register. I think, yeah, that's the correct one. In the body, I will send some JSON data. My new user, I don't remember if it was user or username. I will try user and probably I will see an error if it was wrong. My new user will be Olga. And her email, it would be something like that, cloud.com, okay. And then the password, that it should be password, all right, 1 2 3 4 5, that's fine. Now, if I did everything correctly, okay, username is required, not user, all right, just try to see everything works fine. Okay, all right, password 6, okay, password should be 6 character long. Yes, I have my new user. Olga is there now. Good. All right, that's fine. What I will do now, I will go here in the register and make it login. All right, so I will do login here. Great, let's try the login. Probably I will see an error because it says the username is not allowed. Yes, you only need email and password. And all right, just give me a second. Email and password. Okay, that's fine. It works. And I will take my auth token. That, if you remember, every user, when you log in, you take your token. And now I should be able to make a get and take my films. So again, if I go to film, API film, that's my API. I created it like that. It says access denied. Yes, because in the headers, you should say your auth token is this one. And that's the value of the auth token. Let's see. Yes, that was the most amazing thing, right? We were able to containerize this application that has everything we need, and it's a kind of staging environment now. Okay, we can share it with other people. They can start trying, right? We can give it with our front-end designer and developer to start thinking how to develop this. But all right, it works, and always it's good when it works. Now, if it doesn't work at this moment, means that you did something wrong. with the application itself, right? And I'm not referring to my application, I'm referring to your application if you try to containerize your own application. So make sure you follow these steps, and the commands are always the same. As you can see, even the Docker file is always the same. Alright, so that would be all. I hope you enjoyed this session that actually wrap up all this discussion about moving our code now to the cloud. So I will see you again soon in our next class.